Hey, what's up, everybody? It's BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so now highlights of the Philadelphia 76ers versus the New York Knicks from last night. Finally got a chance to see them. This was a pretty important game to try to get a chance to pay attention to based on the circumstances surrounding both teams. Obviously, the New York Knicks are playing great basketball to start the season, and the Philadelphia 76ers are missing basically half of their franchise with Ben Simmons sitting out and trying to figure out what his next move is going to be. Um, hopefully finding a trade, obviously, for him is what the priority is, and that's his next move is to try to play for someone else. But for the time being, they're trying to take it slow in terms of, putting forth a better image for the rest of us to see so that they can, hopefully get a trade going for this kid. Because as long as it looks like there's chaos in the circus around him, it's no way Maury's going to find a deal that's even worth doing, let alone one that he's asking for. So that's what's going on with them. But in the meantime, because of it, it's kind of like a stalemate for their team. It's almost like your second best player is basically hurt. But I would argue, what we're kind of seeing out there is he's probably your most important player, given the fact that he really does make the engine go. As much as we respect Joel Embiid is not facilitator. He's not going to be able to make other guys better. He's not going to be able to make plays cohesive. He's not going to be able to get guys in their spots. All he can do is what he does, which is everything else. Basically, be one of the most prolific weapons and forces of nature that the game has ever seen, to be honest with you. But that does not make others better. And so I always say this, man, and it's one of the reasons why I put so much emphasis on facilitators. Now, granted, you can have all the facilitators in the world. If no one wants to shoot, it's just a bunch of passing going on in 24 seconds, and that's it. You need shooters. You need people who think scoring. You need people to finish these plays for those facilitators. So it's not about the facilitators necessarily being more important than the weapons. It's just that they function singularly as to where you can have multiple weapons. So if a weapon is missing, it's fine. But if the facilitator is missing, well, the weapons have to try to figure out how they're going to fire without anyone shooting them. And that is how basketball ends up falling apart. You end up seeing plays that don't make sense, guys trying to do too much, trying to force ISO situations against defenders that maybe they otherwise wouldn't. Even if you try to run like a triangle offense or a box offense or something like that, try to give yourself opportunities, what you still end up running into is set defense. Because a lot of times what facilitators can do is with their dribbling ability and their threat from wherever to shoot, they can create opportunities to confuse the defense and have them jumping around trying to take chances, getting all out of place, thus giving you more room as a team to maneuver in your offense. When you don't have that facilitator, guys are in place. They are setting up in front of you, ready for ISO plays, and then they can double team accordingly, do whatever they need to do, stay home on people who can shoot, play off of guys who are not shooters. Nothing for them to try to have to adjust to. Just simple reading what you were doing and reacting to it. Very simple. You need that facilitator that's particularly one who can dribble the ball, push the pace, draw defensive players away from other players, etc. You need that. Ben Simmons is one of the best at that, and not only that, but he's also literally the best perimeter defender in basketball. So what are we going to do? If you're the Philadelphia 76ers, you're not worried as much about the defensive end, unfortunately, because you do have players like Thibault. You do have guys like Joel Embiid who are going to erase some of the mistakes of players who may not be able to defend. So your defense is still going to be able to hold up somewhat without Ben Simmons. Your offense? Nah. They're having a very difficult time scoring. As I said, it's guys who are not used to creating for themselves, trying to create for themselves, trying to create for others. You got situations where they're trying to run Andre Drummond as the facilitator at the top of the key, trying to create plays for people, a la like Nikola Jokic at times. Maybe that works for them. I saw that worked a little bit. But honestly, they don't really have anything. What they need is a facilitator. Simple as that. Someone to run the offense. And it doesn't matter what position they're playing in. That's the thing. A Draymond Green. And look, this is the beautiful thing about the NBA right now. They've got so many non-point guard facilitators entering the league right now. Think about a guy like Evan Mobley. If Evan Mobley was on the Philadelphia 76ers right now, this wouldn't be a problem. Even though you don't look at him as somebody who's going to make passes for others He's not Ben Simmons. He's not putting the ball down on the floor like that, even though he probably can, given the skill set that he has. But just in theory, looking at the player, he's a stilt. But you can facilitate your offense through it. You can create plays that he can facilitate. Look at a guy, obviously Jokic is the best in the world at that right now, at that position. Maybe ever, really. Him, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, he's in that category for me. So he epitomizes what you can do from that position. Obviously Draymond Green, if I haven't mentioned him already, he's an obvious name for me. Think about a guy like Scotty Barnes in Toronto. He can do it. As I've mentioned many times, Mason Plumlee down there in Charlotte, he can do it. They need somebody like that. And if I'm Philadelphia, all this talk about trying to swing a trade for Ben Simmons, that's big picture stuff. You guys need just something quick. You need to find yourself one of those players. Somebody like that. They don't have to play the point guard position, but they do have to fit in your starting lineup and be able to make consistent passes for others. You know who's doing a fantastic job for that right now? One of my favorite players. You've heard me mention this guy a million times. Isaiah Hardenstein, or Hardenstein. I never say his name correctly. I think it's Hardenstein. He just signed up with the Clippers. As you guys know, they don't have a facilitator. Guess what? He's facilitating for that team. He's putting them in positions to get that done through him. And it's been one of those things that makes me feel really good as someone who analyzes the game, because I've been screaming his name since he was on the back of the Cleveland bench. And that wasn't even something that I thought he could do. But that's exactly what he's done for the Clippers. He's put them in a position to have a passer on the floor in the midst of all of their non-passing situations. And you got to credit Ty Lue for recognizing that within that player and letting him do what it is his skill set dictates can be done. Philadelphia needs a player like that. You know who else was doing a fantastic job facilitating the ball right now from a different position? A guy who's breaking all the way out right now in San Antonio, Jakob Poeltl. He had a game where he had 7 assists. He had a game where he had 6 assists. That is what Philly needs. Because I'm telling you right now, Tyrese Maxey is a score-first point guard. Yes, he can get some assists. No, he is not a facilitator at this stage in his career. Now, you can mold him to be whatever you want him to be long-term, because obviously he's a young player. But what you're not going to do is turn him into what you need him to be, which is somebody who's going to make others better right now at a championship level. You're not going to find that. To my knowledge, from what I see, you don't have that on that roster. So you got to go find it. That's really what it comes down to. All this talk about, Ben Simmons must be traded for a star. You ain't getting no star for Ben Simmons. That's like literally out. You know what I mean? So if I'm a GM, I'm looking at this situation with Ben Simmons as a loss waiting to happen. It's already a loss. You've already lost, like literally. You have to look at it like that and try to plan accordingly. If we get a good couple of players for Ben Simmons, if we're able to trade Ben Simmons at all, fine, right? That's literally where you're at. The trade you need to make right now is just simply the trade that's going to bring you that facilitator. That's all. Somebody on the back of someone's bench or someone on the side of somebody's roster who can just come in and make plays. Because if they don't get that, they're going to tumble down the standings so fast in the ever increasingly strong Eastern Conference. You guys have no idea how bad this season can actually get for the Philadelphia 76ers if they don't find a passer quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm telling you, the losses will pile up. The East is not the old East. It doesn't even matter that they're missing their best player. They're not going up against the same field. Now you got to deal with teams like Cleveland who've gotten better. Miami's gotten significantly better. Of course, you're looking at a team like the Chicago Bulls who've gotten significantly better. Boston's still good. They got better, actually, in my mind. New York, significantly better. It goes on and on. Even Brooklyn, in my opinion, is in trouble right now. I didn't even mention the champs. They're still very good. I don't think that they got better, but they certainly didn't get worse. So as far as the Philadelphia 76ers, even if Ben Simmons was out there, I'm not sure they're going to be more than a 6th seed this year. I'm not certain. Especially with Joel Embiid having some of the issues he's having right now, and their bench looking the way that it looks. So as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing to be happy about in Philly right now. And it has very little to do with guys necessarily not playing well. They're just not in a position to do the things that they do best, and they're being asked to do things that they don't. And until that situation is remedied, Philly's going to be struggling, period. We've seen this many times. You've seen it with the Clippers, and that's another thing I want to say. Doc Rivers finds himself in this situation a lot. And I know for a fact he has had some control over these rosters being put together in both Los Angeles, obviously, with him being the GM, and I don't know to what extent here in Philly. But to only have one legitimate facilitator on your team in this era is a mistake. You're surrounding yourself with nothing but weapons and only one person to shoot them. That's kind of what the Lakers ran into last year as well without Rondo. We found ourselves with only one playmaker, with the exception of obviously Caruso, who could help us with that. That's not enough. You need multiple playmakers, because if one of those playmakers go down, the whole team is useless. The whole team becomes useless. And that's what we've seen with both Doc Rivers situations. No facilitator. When Chris Paul go down, you see how bad them plays used to be? Nah, when Chris Paul left, you see how terrible that offense was run? I mean, they were able to do things defensively, but not without a facilitator. As soon as Blake Griffin was traded away, it was over. Why? Because he was that facilitator. And people didn't realize it. Yes, that's another guy that fits in that mold of players that I've been talking about, who can help you right now. You make a swing a trade for a guy like that, things get a lot better for Philly immediately. And they're out there. There's plenty of them. You just got to find one, I look at some guys in Dallas, I look at a guy like Jalen Brunson. I don't know what his trade value would be, and if I'm Dallas, I'm not quick to let him go. But if I'm Philadelphia, he's exactly who I'm trying to go get. I need to snatch him off of your team right now because I have a need for that player. Tyrese Halliburton, you know what's going on in Sacramento. At this point, if I do make a trade involving Ben Simmons to any of these players, any of these places, I'm going to want your best facilitator from Philly. And that is why, here we go again, BDF 44, bringing it all the way back to the same old thing. That is why I'm still on, to this very second, the Philadelphia must trade Ben Simmons for John Wall train. Because it makes more sense the more you think about the things that they're lacking right now. You know how much better that team would be if they had John Wall on the floor? He could average 10 assists for them right now. That's what they need. And he's a defensive player, as we've also stated, one of the best shot blockers ever played the point guard position. That's what they need. So all this talk about, John Wall is washed. You need him. Forget all that. I don't care if he's washed or not. He literally fits what you need. He's a high-level superstar caliber player who's looking to win a championship and wants to do it as a leading point guard. Hello, that's what you're offering. So I just think you guys are just concerned about John Wall and his health, which is obviously something that's real. And no, I shouldn't, in a vacuum, want John Wall and his contract from Philadelphia. Hell no, you don't want that. But what you also don't want is to sit here the way that you've been while Ben Simmons continues to sit and tell you that he'd rather play for anyone but you. Respectfully now. But still saying. And look, if I'm Ben Simmons, I'm going to be honest with you. If I'm Ben Simmons, depending on how I feel, I know they need me. You know what I mean? It becomes a situation where it's like, if he's pissed at them, like if he's really angry at them, he's laughing. He likes watching this. He likes watching them lose. If he's that kind of guy, then that's what they get. But you got to understand. Maybe I'm speaking from a different perspective because this is how I would look at it. But yeah, I wanted out of Philadelphia when I wasn't feeling too good. But now, obviously, I've come back around, kind of going into the building now, looking around. Hey, don't look now. But I'm literally one of the greatest players to ever play for Philadelphia 76ers, if I'm Ben Simmons. Top seven player to ever play for their franchise. I mean, I'm not saying he's above, Dr. J or Allen Iverson, Moses Malone, Joel Embiid. There's some guys. But how far does Ben fall down the list? Not too far. A part of me feels like he should feel like something he's helped put together is falling apart because of his absence. Somewhere in my ego, I'm thinking, nah, I gotta do something about that. Not to say that he isn't checked all the way out, because he is. But when you're sitting there and you're watching the same jerseys you've been running around in for 8 years, the same floor you've been running around on for 8 years, go out there and just play an abomination of basketball and tumble down the standings. And mind you, this is a proud franchise who's been upper contender for the last 4 or 5 years because of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid coming together and making something out of nothing, basically. He's sitting down. They're falling apart. They look bad. See, if he's watching these games, he's sitting there slapping his forehead every time they do something bad because he knows that's something he could fix. y'all do that? It's a lot of that going on while he's watching it. It's a lot of that. And then you get to a point where it's like, well, they're not trading me. I'm sitting here watching this sucky team run around missing me because they can't make a play without me. At some point in time, I want to play some basketball. I understand that I've been pissed off. I understand I'm ready to get traded. And I also understand that the circumstances make it so that, yeah, people want me gone. I want to be gone, but nobody can get me gone just yet. Not without doing something they have no business doing. And that's circumstances, not people, keeping you from being traded. So at some point in time, it's just like, all right, bro, I'm sick of sitting on this damn couch. I love playing basketball. I'm 25 years old. I'm making millions of dollars, whether I like it or not, because these guys are going to continue to do this song and dance with me. I just need to get back on the court and continue to jog. I got a feeling Ben Simmons coming back. Even though I don't know that decision is made, and it's certainly not one I would have made myself, watching them struggle and knowing you can't be traded, at some point in time, your ego just got to take over and say, you know what? I really do want to run, man. At the end of the day, I do want to play ball. I don't want to play for them, but for the time being, this is trash. Watching them go out there and struggle like this, I wouldn't be able to do it. My ego wouldn't let something I helped build fall apart like that. If I'm stuck and can't leave, you see what I'm saying? Now, if he had the choice to leave, if he could up and go, he'd already be gone. That's the part that's obvious to me. But since he can't leave, and they are sucking, and his name is attached to it, at some point in time, it's like, I just got to get back out there, man. I just got to play ball, bro. I'm not even as mad as I used to be last week. Some of the stuff that I was pissed off about obviously has changed in my mind because I wouldn't be here if it hadn't. It's time to get back on the court, man. And that's not something I ever would have said. But they can't trade you unless you get back on the court. And I know you're watching them. And this is your creation going down the toilet. And you're going to let it happen. I don't know. I guess I'm just wired differently. I wouldn't be able to let it happen. I'd go down there, give every teammate the finger, go out there and make sure we play well. Just so my name being attached to it wouldn't fall apart. You know what I mean? I would do that. I wouldn't say a word to a single soul if I felt that strongly about it. But the cohesiveness of the basketball court, I'd play some of the best basketball they'd ever seen. I'd average probably whatever is possible. I'd be at my highest point because my only purpose, literally, would be to meet my own standards for what it is that this team should look like. Truthfully. That would be the driving force for my brain if I'm Ben Simmons. I don't care about nothing they talking about. As soon as they trade me, I'm celebrating. I'm lighting a cigar. The moment they trade me, it could be mid-game. I'm out of here. In fact, I'm going to do a little dance on the way out. So it ain't about wanting to be with y'all or play for y'all. But this, sitting up here watching this abomination of Philadelphia basketball go down the drain, when you know all they need is just a couple of very simple things for you to do to happen. Nah. The only way, me personally, I'm sitting here watching them play this bad is if I'm enjoying watching them suffer. And even in that case, I'm suffering because I'm not playing and not getting traded. So at some point in time, it's just like, I don't know. I can't assume to get in that person's head, but I can tell you things have changed. Watching this team struggle and seeing that this team is trying to play nice with him but still not being able to pull the trigger on a deal tells me that this could be a situation where they kindly still have you on the roster 5-6 months from now. Respectfully, not have made a deal by next summer. Like, I can literally see that, where they're not even angry, but they're literally not able to do a deal. And I've said this before, you know, Daryl Morey has a reputation to uphold and bosses to please. And most importantly, a franchise to run, you know. And while on this channel, my point of view has been for the kid and Ben Simmons and looking at the situation as Philadelphia is toxic, that does not take away his position and responsibility to make sure that he gets the most out of whatever he can for Ben Simmons, who is their second most important player. I do understand this, and I didn't always talk like I understood this because I wanted to see certain things happen in the favor of Ben Simmons. But if I were to speak of the favor of the 76ers more so, I would probably still tell them to trade for John Wall because I really thought that through. But if that's something that they are not allowed, if Daryl's not allowed to do that deal, then no, I'm not pulling the trigger on just Malik Beasley or something like that. I'm not doing that. Like, it has nothing to do with Ben Simmons. I can't do that. I do that, and I may not get another job in this league. That's Daryl Morey. The best job I'll get is the worst one available if I do a deal like that. You understand what I'm saying? Especially since he didn't pull the trigger on the Harden deal, even though I don't know if that was his idea, because I know he would have probably done that. But all in all, it still looks away. You know what I mean? When he goes to his next job situation, he's going to be asked, what happened there? Why didn't you make that deal? And the answer, it better be because the owner said I shouldn't. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because if the answer is anything else, he's on the thinnest ice there is, just for not making that deal, low key. And everything he said in regards to some things 2 years ago about China. Still has him on thin ice. So he cannot just pull the trigger on any old deal, man. It's going to reflect poorly on him. So because I know that, that's worked into my equation as well in regards to why Ben Simmons should just get back on the court. Because it's like, bro, it ain't even about spite. It's about executing the job properly. And Daryl would not be if he did some of the deals that are probably on the table. Just truthfully. But all in all, Philly's going to continue to suck until he gets back out there. I like Tyrese Maxey, but he's a scorer. We know he's a scorer. This is the same situation that Kobe White's been going through for the last several years. People wanting him to be a facilitator, forcing him to be a facilitator. No, fam, no. Let him shoot. Stop asking that man to do stuff that he ain't supposed to be doing and bringing his value down, telling me something he's not. No. Tyrese Maxey is not any of that. He's a guy who's got a hell of a lot of foot speed. Some of the fastest feet you'll ever see in your life. He's up there with De'Aaron Fox. And he can really, really score. He showed us that. His ability to penetrate is next level stuff. Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook, all that. He's drawing defense with him. He is a bullet flying at you. So understand, I know what Tyrese Maxey is. But a facilitator, a natural passer, a glue guy, he is not. He is not. He's yet another weapon on a team full of weapons. Tobias Harris, weapon. You know, it's weapons all over the place. Seth Curry, weapon. Not facilitator. You know, if I start naming off that whole roster, you're going to see very little facilitating presence, if any. You know, they're all guys that need others to make them better. So, find yourself a facilitator, Daryl. That's what I got, man. Stop worrying about the Ben Simmons trade. If you're not going to make the trade for John Wall, I wouldn't make the trade for anything at all right now. Because I know you're not getting Dame. I know you're not getting some of them other things. Some of those other names. It's just not coming your way. So, that's what I got, man. If they really want to get creative, to be honest with you, you got to start looking at the benches on some of these teams, man. That's what it is. Because some of these guys are waiting to break out. I look at a guy like R.J. Hampton in Orlando. Boy, I'd snatch him up so quick. Derek White in San Antonio, if I can get my hands on that dude. There are other players around the league that you just got to find them. They're in good position. They're in so-so positions. Look at Alex Caruso going to Chicago. You see what I'm saying? What that player can mean to you could be totally different than what it meant to another team. I think about Kelly Olynyk when he left Miami and went to Houston. It's a different player when he got there. You just got to find what you're looking for that can help you and facilitate it properly. Look at Carmelo Anthony with the Lakers. He hasn't looked this good since he was in probably New York. So, yeah, Philly, you got to get creative. Find what you're looking for. So that's what I got, man. I wanted to kind of talk about New York, but this video is going long enough. I'll keep it at Philly. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.